everybody, Mr. A back with story time for another day and continuing with The Tempest by William Shakespeare. King Alonso and Antonio had also been wandering through the jungle for hours, and now they were desperate with thirst and hunger. Their fine clothes, ripped by cruel thorns, hung around them in tatters, and sweat streamed down their faces. Alonso, certain that Ferdinand was dead, was stricken with grief, and at last he slumped onto the trunk of a fallen tree. "I can go no further," he groaned. "I will wait here for death to put an end to my misery." Antonio glanced around uneasily. The jungle was an eerie place, full of shadows and whispering voices. "Just a little further, my lord," he said. "I see a clearing not far ahead. Perhaps we'll find a spring of fresh water there." The thought of water urged Alonso to his feet, and together the two men stumbled towards the edge of a clearing. Like a mirage, in the middle of the clearing stood a long table, piled with food and drink, golden platters of carved meats, whole roasted fowl, baskets of bread, and golden jugs of wine. Alonso and Antonio hurried towards it, but before they could reach the feast, there was a dazzling flash of light, and Ariel appeared. He hovered over the table in the shape of a harpy, a monster with a human head and the body of a gigantic eagle. Alonso tried to snatch a jug of wine, but the harpy hissed and slashed at him with its bronze talons. "Foul spirit, why do you torment us?" Antonio sobbed. "For thy betrayal of thy brother Prospero and niece Miranda," the harpy screeched. I didn't screech, did I? "Thou and King Alonso did set them in a boat and leave them to the mercy of the ocean. Prepare thee for thy punishment." Alonso and Antonio stared in amazement, wondering how the spirit had discovered their guilty secret. They expected the harpy to tear them into pieces, but instead it faded into a cloud of tiny lights that swirled like specks of dust floating in a beam of sunlight. The two men felt themselves fall into a waking sleep and heard a voice speaking to them out of the cloud. "Come," it said. "Follow, follow." From all over the island, the crew of the wrecked ship came to gather on the beach near Prospero's cave, drawn there by magic. Even Trinculo and Stefano, who had aching heads and torn clothes from where the hounds had snapped at them. The sailors rejoiced to see friends they thought had perished, and gazed about in wonder. Had the storm only been a dream, or were they dreaming now? For there was their ship, undamaged, anchored close to the shore. The sailors laughed and scratched their heads, unable to believe their luck. Ariel brought Alonso and Antonio to the mouth of Prospero's cave and broke their trance. Alonso gasped as Ferdinand and Miranda stepped out of the darkness, hand in hand, and his eyes blurred with tears. "What wonderful new world is this that has such people in it?" he wondered. "The world that will be made when we return to Naples and our children are joined in marriage," said a voice. Alonso and Antonio turned and saw Prospero standing behind them. Antonio could not meet his brother's eyes and hung his head in shame. "Let our old hate be ended by their young love, Alonso," Prospero said. He came forward and placed his hand on Antonio's shoulder. "I forgive you, brother," he said. "We will rule Milan together and end our days in peace. Now, go down to the shore and make ready to leave this island forever." "Are you coming, father?" asked Miranda. "In a moment, my child," Prospero said. He waited until he was alone, and then whispered, "Ariel." Ariel grew out of emptiness. Too excited to hold one shape, he turned into a hummingbird, then a butterfly, then a winged unicorn. "I have burned my books of magic and my wizard's staff," Prospero declared. "You are free to go, my Ariel, but I shall sadly miss you." "And I shall miss thee, dear master," said Ariel. "But look for me in springtime blossom, or when the summer breeze stirs thy curtain, or when the winter stars blaze bright. Until then, farewell." "Farewell, sweet spirit," said Prospero, and he turned away so that Ariel would not see the tears in his eyes. As the ship's sails unfurled and it began to glide away, Caliban came out of his hiding place in the jungle. He danced on the beach, turning cartwheels as he whooped. "I'm king of the island! King! His voice frightened a flock of parrots who clattered out of the treetops and flew over Caliban in a great circle, their plumage glittering like the jewels in a royal crown. Our revels now are ended. These our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. The end. All right. Now, there's a little bit more. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the story now, and about the Globe Theatre, but I'll do that tomorrow, just to finish off. But, hope you enjoyed that story, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.